What would you do if you came back from serving overseas, proud of the work you'd done for your country, only to find strangers living in your home because your neighborhood association decided to sell it off while you were gone? That's what happened to me, or at least that's how my story begins. And I can tell you, nothing I went through in the desert could have prepared me for the gut punch waiting at the end of my driveway. I've been gone for almost a year, counting the days until I could pull down that old gravel road, past the oak tree I used to climb as a kid, toward the farmhouse my dad built with his own hands. In my head, I kept replaying the same picture. The porch swings squeaking in the wind, the barn doors leaning just a little crooked, the smell of hay, the feel of home. But when I finally got there, I froze. A silver minivan sat where my old Chevy used to park. Kids' bikes leaned against the fence, toys scattered in the yard. Through the front window, I saw curtains I didn't recognize. For a second, I thought I'd lost my mind, maybe pulled into the wrong place. But no, this was it. My land. My family's land. And someone else was living in it. I killed the engine, stepped out of my uniform, duffel bag still over my shoulder, and before I could even knock, the door opened. A woman stood there, holding a toddler on her hip, looking at me like I was a ghost. "Can I help you?" she asked. "This is my house," I said. She tightened her grip on the kid. "I think you're mistaken. We bought this place 6 months ago. From the association." The association. That one word hit me harder than any sandstorm overseas. I knew exactly who she meant. Margaret Vaughn, the queen bee of our homeowners association. She'd been running the board for years, handing out fines like candy and talking to everyone like she owned the place. My dad used to grumble that Margaret treated the whole neighborhood like her kingdom. And now I was standing on the gravel drive, watching a stranger rock her baby in my living room, because Margaret had sold my family ranch like it was hers to sell. I didn't argue with the woman. None of this was her fault. I just turned, climbed back into my truck, and drove straight into town, my mind racing. Every bill had been paid before I left. Taxes, mortgage, association dues, all squared away. I made sure of it. And yet somehow, in the months I was gone, they'd pushed through a foreclosure as if I'd abandoned the place. At the gas station on the edge of town, I dialed the one number I knew would matter, my old buddy Jacob Diaz, now a deputy sheriff. When he picked up, I said, "Jake, I'm back. And apparently, I don't have a house anymore." He was silent for a moment, then muttered, "Jesus, Mark, don't go storming into anything. Come by the station. Bring whatever you've got. We'll sort it out." But sorting it out wasn't simple. Not when Margaret Vaughn was involved. The next morning, I walked into the HOA office, still in uniform. The receptionist barely glanced up until I said, "Tell Margaret Vaughn that Sergeant Mark Harlan is here about the land she stole." That got her attention. Margaret appeared a minute later, crisp suit, silver hair tight as wire, looking me up and down like she'd been waiting for this moment. "Well," she said with a thin smile, "I wonder when you'll be back." "You sold my ranch," I told her flatly. "Correction," she snapped. "The HOA sold it, after you failed to address repeated violations and unpaid dues. You abandoned it." I stepped closer. I was deployed overseas. Federal law protects service members from exactly this. And I paid everything. Her smile didn't even flicker. "That's not what our records show." "Then you forged something?" The receptionist shifted nervously, but Margaret raised a hand like she was swatting at a fly. "Calm yourself. If you have a problem, hire a lawyer. Don't harass me." I walked out before I lost my temper. But in that moment I knew she wasn't bluffing. She had done this before. Jay confirmed it later that day. The county clerk's office showed a transfer signed by the board, filed like it was legitimate. My name wasn't on it. They had cooked up inflated dues and violations, then pushed through a foreclosure. He looked me in the eye and said, "If she did this to you, Mark, she's done it to others." And he was right. Over the next week, I tracked down families. Folks like Franklin, a mechanic who lost his house over so-called $10,000 in dues he never owed. Or the Holbrooks, 2 retired teachers who got slapped with bogus landscaping violations until their place was gone. Every story was the same. Trumped-up fees, impossible penalties, then a quick sale to some buyer who always seemed to be waiting in the wings. Margaret's HOA wasn't just strict, it was a machine designed to chew people up. I brought it all to the Army's legal office at Fort Mason. Captain Renee Cross, a sharp JAG officer, flipped through my folder and said, "You kept good records. That's your lifeline." From what I see, this falls squarely under the Service Members Civil Relief Act. And if this is happening to others, we're looking at fraud on a bigger scale. That was the first time I felt like I wasn't crazy. Like maybe, just maybe, the truth would hold up. Of course, Margaret didn't sit quietly. She doubled down. Whispers started spreading, anonymous posts online, gossip around town, that maybe I wasn't stable after coming back from deployment, maybe I was too aggressive, maybe I'd forgotten things. Classic smear job. One guy even stopped me in the grocery store and asked, "Hey man, you doing okay after everything overseas?" That's when I realized she was trying to paint me as unhinged. I wanted to punch a wall. Instead, I sat with Jake, who leaned back in his chair and said, "That's Margaret's playbook. She can't win with facts, so she'll use fear. Don't give her what she wants." I try to keep my cool, but every time I drove past that ranch and saw the porch light glowing, another family living their quiet life in the home my father built, I felt something hot and raw in my chest. And then came the break. Curtis Dean, one of the board members, called Jake in the middle of the night. Said he couldn't live with it anymore. Margaret had ordered them to inflate dues, tack on late fees to accounts already paid, target people she called easy to push, soldiers, the elderly, families drowning in medical bills. Curtis had the receipts, the emails, everything. When he slid that thumb drive across the table to me, and Captain Cross, my hand shook. This was it, the proof. From there, things snowballed. The Department of Justice came in, federal investigators with their dark suits and briefcases, combing through years of records. Turns out my little ranch wasn't the only prize. They'd been flipping homes to developers at cut-rate prices, then reselling for profit. It wasn't just HOA abuse. It was racketeering dressed up as neighborhood rules. By the time we got to court, the whole town was watching. Families filled the benches, reporters with cameras outside, veterans groups waving flags. I sat at the plaintiff's table with Captain Cross beside me, and across the aisle Margaret sat like a stone statue, her lawyers stacked high with papers. One by one, families told their stories. Franklin with his grease-stained hands, the Holbrooks with their tired voices, a young mother who broke down talking about her kids, asking why they didn't have a backyard anymore. Then it was my turn. I told the judge about 11 months overseas, bills paid before I left, and how I came back to find strangers in my living room. I said, I never abandoned my home. I was serving my country, and while I was gone, they stole my father's land. The room went quiet. Margaret's attorney tried to twist me up, suggesting maybe I'd forgotten something in the stress of deployment. I looked him dead in the eye and said, I never forgot my responsibilities to my unit or to my home. The receipts are in that folder you're holding. When the judge finally spoke, his voice carried like thunder. He declared the foreclosures fraudulent, predatory, illegal. He nullified the sales, restored the titles, and referred Margaret and her board for federal charges. For a moment, no one moved. Then the room erupted. Families cried, neighbors cheered, and for the first time since stepping off that plane, I felt like I could breathe again. I didn't look at Margaret as she was let out. She wasn't in control anymore. In the weeks that followed, the story spread beyond Texas, sparking debates about HOAs, service members' rights, and what happens when power goes unchecked. People started calling me a symbol, though I never asked for it. I just wanted my ranch back. But I came to understand something. Sometimes standing up for yourself means standing up for everyone else too. And here's the thing. The fight didn't end with me. Another veteran called me not long after, said his HOA was threatening foreclosure while he was deployed. I picked up the phone, because this isn't just about one ranch, one man, or one crooked board. It's about making sure no family comes home to find their life stolen with the stroke of a pen. So now I'll throw this to you. What do you think? Was justice really served? Or should people like Margaret Vaughn face even harsher consequences? Do HOAs have too much power, or are they a necessary evil? Drop your thoughts in the comments, share this story if it fired you up, and let's hear where you stand. Because at the end of the day, silence lets injustice grow. And sometimes, all it takes is one voice willing to fight back.